So guys, as promised, we are now in the very famous pawn shop. Rick.
Pawn shop. So this was probably 10, 12 years ago. We did some promos for PawnStars in the UK.
Rick Harrison, the face of PawnStars, built his empire from the ground up. For decades, millions have watched him negotiate, haggle, and uncover priceless treasures at the gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. To the world, he's the savvy businessman, the charming negotiator, and the father keeping the family legacy alive. But behind the cameras, behind the flashing lights, Rick's life hasn't been without its shadows. Turning 60 might seem like a milestone to celebrate, but for Rick, it came wrapped in a mix of reflection, heartbreak, and the heavy cost of a life spent in the public eye. Personal struggles, health challenges, and the pressures of fame have silently carved their marks on him. The world sees the laughter and the banter with Chumley and Corey, but very few know the private battles Rick has faced, the kind that don't make it to television. Family tragedies, the toll of running a high-profile business, and moments of personal loss have all intersected, leaving Rick in a place of quiet sorrow despite his on-screen charisma. As we take a closer look at his journey, the story isn't just about a pawn shop owner, it's about a man navigating love, loss, and the unexpected costs of fame. We peel back the layers to reveal the heartbreaking reality of Rick Harrison's life at 60. The struggles that cameras never captured, the emotional weight he carries, and the lessons hidden behind the sparkle of gold and the allure of rare collectibles. Prepare yourself for a story of triumph shadowed by tragedy, a tale that fans of PawnStars will find both shocking and deeply human. Rick Harrison wasn't born into wealth or privilege. Growing up in a modest family in North Las Vegas, his childhood was shaped by hard work, determination, and a relentless drive to succeed. Even as a young boy, Rick displayed an uncanny ability to recognize value, whether in objects, opportunities, or people. It was a skill that would later define his career. But back then, it was just a curious knack, one that sometimes got him into trouble with teachers and classmates who didn't quite understand his sharp mind. As a teenager, Rick took on odd jobs to support his family, learning early the importance of perseverance. From stocking shelves to running errands, he immersed himself in work, absorbing lessons that no classroom could teach. These experiences would later become the backbone of his business philosophy. Nothing is worth having if it isn't earned. By the time he reached adulthood, Rick wasn't just chasing money, he was chasing mastery, a level of expertise that would eventually set him apart in the world of collectibles and pawnbroking. In 1981, with a mix of courage and calculated risk, Rick co-founded the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop alongside his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison. The shop started small, tucked into a corner of Las Vegas, but it quickly became a hub for collectors, bargain hunters, and curious tourists. Rick's charisma, knowledge, and unflinching honesty turned the store into more than just a business. It became a destination. People came not only for rare coins, gold, and antiques, but also for the experience of watching Rick negotiate, analyze, and reveal the hidden stories behind each item. Yet, even during these early successes, life wasn't without its struggles. Rick balanced the responsibilities of a growing family, the pressure of keeping the business afloat, and the challenges of an unpredictable market. Behind the counter, he projected confidence and humor, but those closest to him knew the toll it took. Sleepless nights, financial risks, and the constant demand to prove himself weighed heavily, even as he built a reputation that would one day attract global attention. By the late 1990s, the store's fame was growing steadily, thanks in part to the booming reality TV industry. Producers were looking for shows that captured real people, real businesses, and real stories, and the Gold and Silver Pawn Shop fit perfectly. Rick's expertise, quick wit, and sometimes gruff demeanor made him a natural television star. But stepping in front of the camera brought a new set of pressures. Every interaction, every negotiation, every on-screen moment was now under public scrutiny. While the world saw humor and drama, Rick knew that running a business and maintaining a family in the public eye was no simple feat. Even in those early days, the seeds of the challenges that would later define his 60s were being planted. Fame, while rewarding, demanded sacrifices, personal moments missed, private struggles hidden, and emotional burdens carried quietly. It was a balancing act that Rick would master publicly, but one that would take its toll behind closed doors. A man whose rise to prominence was fueled by intelligence, determination, and heart, yet shadowed by the quiet costs of ambition. Rick Harrison's story was no longer just about a pawn shop. It was about a man navigating the fine line between success and sacrifice, preparing for a future where triumph and tragedy would inevitably intertwine. By the early 2000s, Rick Harrison's life had transformed completely. What started as a small pawn shop in North Las Vegas had become a destination for collectors and tourists alike. And with the launch of PawnStars in 2009, his world would change forever. The show's unique blend of history, humor, and high-stakes negotiation turned Rick into a household name. Millions tuned in each week to watch him appraise rare artifacts, haggle for the best price, and share stories of the objects, and occasionally, of himself. On screen, Rick was confident, witty, and unflinching. His rapport with his father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, his son Corey, and Chum Lee created a dynamic that audiences loved. The show's success brought fame, fortune, and opportunities that Rick had only dreamed of during those early days stocking shelves and running errands. The gold and silver pawn shop became an iconic Las Vegas landmark, drawing tourists from around the world eager to see the man who could turn a dusty artifact into a gold mine. But behind the cameras, life wasn't always as glamorous as it appeared. The intense schedule of filming, public appearances, and constant attention began to take a toll. Rick's personal life, once private and manageable, now unfolded under scrutiny. Maintaining relationships, spending quality time with his children, and protecting the family legacy became a delicate balancing act. Fame demanded that Rick be on at all times, sharp, entertaining, and composed, even when personal challenges weighed heavily. Health concerns also began creeping in. Years of long hours, stress, and the physical demands of running a business left their mark. Rick, always the optimist, often brushed off the warning signs, but friends and family noticed the subtle changes, the fatigue, the lingering aches, and moments of quiet reflection that hinted at deeper concerns. While viewers saw a man thriving in the limelight, the reality behind the scenes was more complicated. Every decision carried weight, not just financially, but emotionally. Even the dynamics within the shop carried their own challenges. The constant presence of cameras amplified tensions and created pressure to perform. Rick had to navigate the delicate balance of maintaining authenticity while also catering to audience expectations. Arguments, disagreements, and moments of frustration, normal in any family business, were magnified under the reality TV spotlight. The Harrison family's resilience was tested daily, and Rick often carried the brunt of responsibility, ensuring the business stayed afloat while protecting his loved ones from public judgment. Perhaps the most heartbreaking aspect was the isolation fame brought. Despite being surrounded by colleagues, family, and fans, Rick often felt alone in his struggles. The world knew him as the tough, shrewd pawn shop owner, but few understood the emotional and physical toll of decades spent under the lens. Every negotiation, every appraisal, and every decision was layered with a hidden weight that only he could carry. By the time Rick turned 60, the contrast between public success and private struggle was stark. PawnStars had given him fame, fortune, and a legacy, but it had also brought challenges that no amount of money could resolve. The pressures of fame, the subtle erosion of privacy, and the demands of maintaining an empire created a quiet, Ongoing tragedy. A reality that viewers never saw, but one that shaped Rick Harrison's life profoundly. The man who could spot a rare coin from a mile away had his own vulnerabilities, struggles that reminded everyone that even the most successful lives carry unseen burdens. Fame and fortune had brought opportunity, but they also carried the weight of sacrifice, a burden Rick Harrison would continue to navigate quietly, even as the world celebrated his success. Turning 60 is a milestone for most, a moment to reflect on achievements, family, and life's journey. For Rick Harrison, it was a time tinged with bittersweet emotions, personal loss, and the lingering weight of challenges he had faced quietly for decades. While fans around the world celebrated his career, very few knew the private struggles that had defined much of his life behind the scenes. Family has always been central to Rick's world, but it hasn't been without heartbreak. His father, Richard Benjamin Harrison, passed away in 2018, leaving a void that fame and fortune could never fill. Rick often speaks of his father as a guiding force, the man who taught him the value of hard work, integrity, and perseverance. Losing such a figure shook him profoundly, and the grief was compounded by the very public nature of his life. Every gesture, every word, and every appearance became a subtle reminder that a piece of his foundation was gone. The pressures of maintaining a family business added another layer of strain. Corey, his son, and Chumley had become integral to the gold, entend fituif, wakider tanin fetiers. Silver Pawn Shop's success, but navigating family dynamics under constant public scrutiny proved challenging. Rick's role as both father and business partner required delicate balance, and he often found himself carrying the emotional weight of ensuring the business thrived while also safeguarding family relationships. Moments of tension, misunderstandings, or disagreements, normal in any family, felt magnified when displayed for millions of viewers. Health concerns, too, began to cast a shadow. Years of long hours, travel, and the relentless pace of a reality television star began to catch up with him. Rick faced fatigue, stress, and the physical demands of a life built on constant negotiation and decision-making. Though he remained outwardly strong and charismatic, those close to him witnessed the quiet toll it took, the subtle aches, the rare moments of withdrawal, and the weight of responsibilities that could not be shared. Beyond family and health, Rick has also faced the emotional impact of fame itself. The world sees the confident, witty, and sharp-tongued negotiator, but the isolation that often comes with being in the spotlight is real. Maintaining privacy, protecting loved ones, and coping with public scrutiny left little room for vulnerability. Rick's life, while extraordinary in its success, is also marked by moments of loneliness and reflection, moments when the cameras are off and the laughter fades. Yet, through it all, Rick has shown resilience. Despite personal loss, health challenges, and the pressures of fame, he continues to lead the gold and silver pawn shop with dedication, integrity, and the humor that fans have come to love. But the heartbreak and sacrifices behind the smiles remind us that success often comes at a cost not measured in dollars or ratings, but in private grief, emotional strain, and moments of quiet struggle. As Rick Harrison reflects on his 60 years, the story that emerges is not just of a successful businessman or television star. It's of a man who has faced loss, shouldered responsibility, and navigated life's complexities with courage and perseverance. It's a reminder that behind the glamour of reality TV, even the brightest stars carry shadows, and that sometimes the most heartbreaking stories are the ones the world never sees. Now, in his 60s, Rick Harrison has reached a point in life where reflection is inevitable. The laughter, the negotiations, and the bright lights of PawnStars have left an indelible mark on pop culture. But for Rick, the true measure of his life extends far beyond television ratings or business success. His focus has shifted toward family, personal fulfillment, and ensuring that the lessons he's learned through triumphs and heartbreak are passed on to the next generation. Rick's relationship with his son Corey remains a cornerstone of his life. Over the years, their bond has been tested by the pressures of fame, the responsibilities of running a family business, and the inevitable disagreements that arise between parent and child. Yet, what shines through is a deep respect and shared vision. Rick sees in Corey not only a successor to the gold and silver pawn shop, but also a reflection of his own journey. A mix of determination, curiosity, and the drive to carve out a meaningful life. Guiding Corey has become both a responsibility and a source of solace, a way for Rick to channel his experiences into something lasting. Even as he navigates his own personal challenges, Rick remains a figure of resilience. He has learned to manage the weight of public attention while carving out private moments of peace. Friends and family describe him as both tireless and quietly introspective, a man who, despite fame and fortune, values simplicity and connection over glamour. The gold and silver pawn shop continues to thrive, not just as a business, but as a symbol of a life built on knowledge, integrity, and perseverance. Rick also reflects on the broader meaning of success. Fame brought him recognition, and the show brought joy to millions. But the most profound lessons have been about human connection, family, and the courage to face life's challenges head-on. He acknowledges the heartbreaks, his father's passing, the pressures of public life, and the private struggles of health and family. But he also recognizes the value of endurance, the satisfaction of hard work, and the legacy he leaves behind. Looking forward, Rick Harrison's vision is clear. He hopes to continue inspiring both his family and fans, showing that even in the face of adversity, resilience and integrity can prevail. While cameras may eventually fade and the spotlight may dim, the impact of his life, his mentorship, his dedication to family, and his influence on the world of collectibles will endure. Fans may remember him for his wit, his knowledge, and his iconic negotiations, but those closest to him understand the depth of his journey. A man who has navigated both public acclaim and private heartbreak, emerging stronger, wiser, and deeply human. As the story of Rick Harrison unfolds at 60, it's clear that the tragedy and triumph of his life are intertwined. Behind the humor, the negotiations, and the television cameras lies a man who has experienced loss, endured challenges, and embraced the responsibilities of fame with courage. His journey reminds us that every life has layers unseen by the public eye, and that sometimes the most heartbreaking stories are also the most inspiring.